published in 1899 by Joseph Conrad, begins on the River Thames in England. A group of men sit aboard a ship called the Nelly. One of them, Charles Marlowe, begins narrating his past journey into the Congo. From the beginning, the Thames is described as once being one of the dark places of the earth, suggesting that even European civilization has its own history of brutality. This immediately challenges the idea that Europe represents pure light and Africa pure darkness. Marlowe explains how he secured a job with a Belgian trading company operating in the Congo Free State. In Brussels, before leaving, he encounters two women knitting black wool in the company office. The image is unsettling, symbolizing fate and death, as though he is entering an underworld. When Marlowe arrives at the outer station in Africa, he witnesses horrific scenes. African workers are chained, starving, and dying. He describes them as black shadows of disease and starvation. Despite the company's claim of bringing civilization, he sees inefficiency, cruelty, and exploitation. At the central station, Marlowe discovers that his steamboat has been damaged. He suspects sabotage. While waiting for repairs, he repeatedly hears about a remarkable agent named Herz, who collects enormous quantities of ivory. Herz is described as a man of great talent and ideals. He wrote a report for the International Society for the Suppression of Savage Customs. The report speaks of bringing light to the natives. However, at the bottom of the document, he has scrawled a chilling line: "Exterminate all the brutes." This contradiction reveals Kurtz's descent from idealism into brutality. Marlowe finally travels up the Congo River. The journey is slow and symbolic. The river winds deeper into the jungle, and metaphorically, deeper into the subconscious. The jungle is described as ancient, silent, and oppressive. During the journey, their boat is attacked by unseen tribesmen. Arrows fly from the forest. The helmsman is killed. Marlowe throws the body overboard. The attack increases the tension surrounding Kurtz. When they reach the interstation, Marlowe sees heads mounted on stakes around Kurtz's house. They face inward, suggesting domination rather than defense. Kurtz has established himself as a godlike figure. The Russian trader explains that Kurtz leads violent raids to obtain ivory and is worshipped by the local tribes. Kurtz is physically weak, but intellectually powerful. He speaks passionately about his ideas. However, isolation and unchecked power have destroyed his moral restraint. At one point, Kurtz crawls into the jungle, unwilling to abandon his authority. Marlowe stops him. As they travel back downriver, Kurtz grows weaker. In his final moments, he whispers, "The horror! The horror!" These words are open to interpretation. They may represent his realization of his own moral corruption. They may reflect the horror of imperialism, or they may reveal the darkness inherent in humanity. Marlowe survives and returns to Europe. In Brussels, he visits Kurtz's fiancée, known as the Intended. She believes Kurtz was noble and great. When she asks for Kurtz's last words, Marlowe lies. He tells her Kurtz spoke her name. The novella ends back on the Thames. The river appears to lead into the heart of an immense darkness. The darkness is not confined to Africa. It exists within civilization itself. Joseph Conrad was born in 1857 in Poland, which then was under Russian control. His original name was Joseph Theodor Conrad Korsniowskis. He became a sailor and later a British citizen. English was his third language. In 1890, Conrad worked briefly in the Congo Free State, then controlled by King Leopold II of Belgium. The regime was notorious for forced labor, violence, and exploitation. These experiences deeply influenced Heart of Darkness. The novella is often read as a critique of imperialism. However, it has also been criticized. Nigerian writer Chinua Achebe famously argued that Conrad portrayed Africa as a backdrop rather than giving Africans their own voices. Despite debates, the novella remains central to discussions of colonialism, modernism, and psychological fiction. Let's examine the characters more closely. Marlowe is both narrator and participant. He is thoughtful and observant, but not entirely heroic. He criticizes imperialism, yet he continues working for the company. He represents a conflicted European conscience. Marlowe also appears in other works of Conrad, like Lord Jim and Chance, etc. Herz is the most complex figure in the novella. Initially, he symbolizes European idealism, the belief in spreading civilization. But once removed from society and given absolute power, he reveals humanity's capacity for cruelty. Herz is not simply evil. He is intelligent, eloquent, and visionary, but he lacks restraint. Conrad suggests that civilization acts as a thin layer covering darker instincts. The intended represents European illusion. She clings to the idea of Herz as noble. Marlowe chooses to protect that illusion, suggesting that society survives by maintaining comforting lies. Even minor characters, like the Russian trader, reinforce the theme of blind admiration for charismatic authority. The dominant theme is imperialism. Conrad exposes the hypocrisy of the so-called civilizing mission. Europeans claim to bring light, yet they spread violence and greed. Another major theme is moral corruption. Isolation and unchecked power allow Herz's darkest impulses to surface. Darkness functions as a central symbol. It represents evil, ignorance, the unconscious, and moral emptiness. Light, ironically, often represents false civilization. The river symbolizes a journey inward, not just geographically, but psychologically. The novella also explores illusion versus reality. Europe maintains illusions of progress and morality, while hiding brutality. Literally, Heart of Darkness is associated with modernism. It uses a framed narrative ambiguity, symbolism, and psychological depth. Conrad avoids simple moral judgments and instead presents complexity and uncertainty. The ending reinforces this ambiguity. The immense darkness suggests that no place is free from moral corruption. If you want to know about any other literary work or anything else, feel free to comment below.